Well, I think we're going to get going. Well, I appreciate everyone that's attending. I know it's been a crazy year, and it seems like we're trying to make do with AU in the best possible way. So today we're going to talk about how to move forward in the new norm. So the um, the agenda for this is pretty clean, pretty simple. There's going to be three things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about who Advanced 2000 is. We're going to talk about what we see as the two options moving forward in the new norm, and then the vision going forward. Um, so let's start right now with who is Advanced 2000. So we're over a 30-year-old company, but as I say that, eh, I want to make note that we said the third bullet point we're going to talk about is the vision going forward. I want to make the point that the history and where we're at now is actually the vision of our CEO and the two owners um, from 31 years ago. Um, our CEO is a mechanical and electrical engineer. He saw technology and has been constantly keeping us on track to stay current and deliver the best possible solutions. Our the other brother, the other partner. So there's Brian Moed and Jad Moed. The other partner was the CFO. He stepped into the role as vice president of sales. But he always talks about when, as he did his MBA, he did it on Advanced 2000, and how he's referenced back to it and updated that business plan for years. So the where we're at today is really been the vision of the past. So during this time now, we have the same ownership for over 31 years. We are not a venture capital company. We have no ownership. We're beholden to no one but our customers. And as you'll see, really quickly in the very early 90s, we became a graphic focused IT company. When Steve Jobs launched Next Computer, he put out a request to see who would be able to build those computers, and the operating system was intensely graphic for today, and we were selected as one of those businesses, and that kind of continued to propel us forward. Then in around 2000, the next step was voice over IP and opening a data center. We launched and we started hosting voice over IP, and then the reason I'm talking to you today is that in 2006 we launched our AEC solutions, and that time was our AEC collaboration hub. We now call that our virtual AEC offices, and that again was the vision of our CEO, and that is to bring the person to the data as opposed to the data to the person. I'll talk on this. It's not a play on words. So we've talked about with Advanced 2000, we've talked about the first four bullet points that we're a mature company delivering, and as far as AEC is concerned, we have over 25,000 architects and engineers leveraging us, and that we own our own data centers. The other three bullet points really are that we do have clients literally from coast to coast and all through North America. We even extend collaboration hubs into the UK and Europe. We do have subject matter experts, which is really another important piece as we talk about the R&D that we do. So these subject matter experts really deliver heavily during the R&D portions of their job. So we have BIM managers, we have architects, we have engineers, all employed by Advanced 2000, CIOs from architectural firms, all employed by Advanced 2000 to make sure that our solution is delivered at the highest level. And last but definitely not least, and I will talk about this again, our 24/7, 365 support. We understand that architects and engineers oftentimes have deliverables on a Monday or a Tuesday, and there's a good chance that you're going to be working on a Saturday or a Sunday. And if you need support, we're here for you. So let's talk about the new norm. I mean, many states are still locking down, and regardless of your opinion, this is going to have some lasting effects. Businesses are going to have to consider how do they move forward, what's the best way to leverage technology, how do we support our employees. So we go back to the options, and you really have two choices at this juncture. And one choice is to bring the person to the data, bring your people to the computer, or bring the data from those servers to the person. And it's not a play on words, and we'll talk about this, and I'll show you a visual on this. So we're going to start with the second one first, bringing the data to the person. What does that look like? And especially, what does that look like, even more importantly, in the new norm? So what we have is the traditional offices. In this case, we have 16 people spread across 3 different offices. There were servers that you can see in each one of these offices, some sort of file server. Then each of them have their computers. And then what happened? The lockdown happened. So what does that look like? What it looks like is 16 separate offices now. And so now we have questions. And there are 3 very important questions that we have to consider with this. A business has to think about how do we manage our proprietary information, also known as mitigating risk. That is critical. It is what a business, especially an architectural and engineering firm, is really proprietary information. Then the second piece is after this honeymoon period of, I don't have to drive to work and I get to save an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day. After that honeymoon period has gone away, do my people feel supported, or do they feel isolated? So I heard oftentimes, we did pretty good, a lot better than we thought, but now we're entering another phase. And that phase is, how are my employees feeling about being supported? And then the third is, what about growth? What about contraction? So you're going to add people, or you're contracting, or just as importantly, right-sizing the performance of the compute or the computer with the employee. You find somebody that you hired is way more capable, and the more horsepower you throw at them from a computing perspective, they're going to continue to perform. How do we right-size that? How difficult is that? And so, that is the third thing. And then the bottom line about all this is, what are the best practices? And best practices in the new norm, and what's the wise financial choices to make here? I want to also add, in this solution right here, as you see it, it takes a tremendous amount of bandwidth to support this. This is not a light solution. You have 16 people coming into your home office and trying to save. This can be very intensive. And this could be a 16-person office, could be a 25, a 50, a 200, a 500-person firm. Each firm, we just have more offices spread out. If this was 200-person firm and they lock down the state and nobody is allowed to move, what that means is now you have 200 offices. So let's talk about the next one. And that is bringing the person to the data. And again, it's not just a play on words, and this is what that looks like. So again, we start with the 3 offices. When you're talking about centralizing the data so people can come to it, you have to move the file servers there, but then more importantly, you need to bring the computers there. And that is incredibly important. Now, we've been doing this again for 16 years now, or 14 years. Um, and we have, the firms that I've had with me for years and years and years, they just, all the compute was in our data center, and then each one of the locations have the people there. What they have is computers, keyboard, and mice. That's it. Everything else is handled centrally. Now, COVID hits, the lockdown hits. What does that look like? Well, they take their keyboard, their monitors, and their mice, and they went home. And from a compute perspective, everything stayed the same. So now what we have, how do we manage our proprietary information? Also, again, known as mitigating risk, which is critically important for businesses. And what we have there is it has not changed. It did not change. The protocols and the securities that you put in place prior to the lockdown is still the same as now. After that honeymoon period, where people don't have to drive 1, 2, or 3 hours, what does it feel like? Those people are still supported in the same exact way. We'll touch on that a little bit, but I want to stay on track here. And then from the third perspective, which is the growth or contraction or right sizing the computer for the employees, what does it look like? The same as it was before. The bottom line is that for our clients that were already with us, nothing has changed except so people are at home, and now the task is what is the best way to collaborate from a face-to-face perspective, as opposed to how do we manage the infrastructure and manage our proprietary information. And again, the bottom line is, you want to make sure you're implementing best practices, which it doesn't change whether you're in the office or out. And financially, the ROI is there. I also want to throw in, which is very important, this solution takes very little bandwidth. And we can, if you have questions on that, we can talk to that. So now let's talk about the vision of where we're going as far as going forward. There we go. So the vision from the past, the vision presently, and the vision going forward has always been the highest level of support for our clients. Not only do we want your employees to feel supported, we want them to be supported. And that is critical. So we have a 24/7, 365 support desk, advanced 2,000 employees answering the phone to give you the support you need. We're going to continue with our world-class R&D, and make no mistake, it is world-class. We've been ahead of the curve for well over a decade now, and continue to be ahead of the curve. And it's something that our leadership and our company is very, very intense about. That we are constantly looking at what's the best way to make sure our clients have the advantage from a technical perspective. And then going forward, and this is relatively new, really within the last year to year and a half, we want to continue to empower our clients with a self-service portal. Now, that is if you want. So we have clients that say, if I could just log in and do stuff myself, I'm really happy. And then I have other clients that say, I'm going to call and you take care of it. I'll tell you what I need. But we want to empower you to add additional workstations. So, for instance, I talk about right-sizing the computer for the employee. And that employee that is, you hired him, he's way better than you thought he was going to be. You just need to get him more compute. That you can handle in the portal, or you can call us. If you need to add computers or subtract computers, again, that could be handled from the portal. And we're going to continue to develop that portal to make it as powerful for you as possible, and as easy to use as possible. So all the billing will take place there, appropriate protections as to who sees what, but that is part of our vision going forward. So what have we talked about? So we've talked about Advanced 2000 is a 30-year-old company, 30 plus years actually. We're financially stable. We're not a venture capital company. We are beholden to no one but our customers, which is critical. And in the past, I've made changes from where a company went from private to public. Things change, and I'm very happy that I'm in a private company. We have over 25,000 architects and engineers leveraging us as we speak, and we invest heavily in R&D. We talked about the new norm, and that regardless of our feelings, things have changed. Regardless of what we want it to be, most of us, and I would almost venture to say anybody on this call at this juncture has no ability to change what the new norm. But we have two options in that new norm from a compute perspective. We can bring the data to the person, which we showed you, and that is supporting 16 separate offices. Or the second option to that is bringing the person to the data, which is centralizing that information and creating and supporting one office. We talked about how Advanced 2000's data center, the best solution is the Advanced 2000 data center. How we help you mitigate risk. Your employees are not only supported but feel supported, which is critical to retaining employees, and really it's just compute made easy. And then we talked about the vision of going forward, and that is to maintain our world-class R&D, research and development, and to continue the 24/7, 365 support, and keep that at the highest level. And then the next step, in which we're doing now and have already started to roll out, empower you with self-service. So that is what we see as the best way to progress in the new norm. It gives you tremendous options, and that's really it. Do you have questions? Anybody have questions?
Paul, there's a couple of questions.
Awesome.
In your opinion, what's the best strategy if a firm is looking to move to the cloud? How would you ensure a seamless transition?
Awesome question. So the way I typically work with my clients as they come aboard, we first have a free demo, which we give you for 2 weeks. It has all the applications. It has all the standard applications that an architectural firm uses. It also, you're welcome to load any application that you feel is critical for your business or you even want to test. That's for 2 weeks. That's to prove that what Paul's saying is not some woo-woo stuff. It actually works. It's like taking the car for a test drive. You step on the accelerator and they say it has horsepower and it giddy ups. You know that when you test drive that car, it works. And that's where the demo portion is. Then we go through an ROI section where, what I'm looking for really is that you've really compiled the numbers so that way you know what you've spent over the last 5 years or so. And you can divide by 60 and say, this is my monthly number. I really do not want to know that number, because I then put together budgetary numbers for your firm and say, here's what it costs per month. So now once that R&D is complete, ROI is complete, we go to a pilot phase. That pilot phase is a paid pilot, but it gives you the option to leave because things are not, if it's not working right now. I've got to say I've never lost somebody that got to that point, but we want to make sure that you feel comfortable, and that is really the most important thing, that you feel that you're still in control, that you're not being fed a line of malarkey. And so that pilot portion you can leave at any time, but it also vets the solution. It is actually the solution that is going to continue to roll out to you. And then last but not least, we roll into the regular term agreement, and your whole firm comes aboard, and that is the process. JT,
Paul,
you think that's a?
yeah,
Go ahead.
can you talk a little bit about how the demo works? Can multiple people in a company use it?
Absolutely. So I, it depends on what you the client, somebody that's testing it wants. Somewhere between 2 and 3 virtual desktops. It works on a small network. So, JT, why don't you go ahead with that? Why don't you just cover that one? Because
Well,
I'm
well, usually we give 2 or 3 virtual desktops to a company to test. You're an admin on the machine so that you can load any kind of software, as Paul said. Anything that runs on Windows can be loaded onto this machine. It's a Windows 10 Pro machine. All of our VDIs are Windows 10 Pro. You're given a set of generic credentials. So those generic credentials can be used or shared among a whole team of people, and they can all log into it and try it out. If you want to have multiple people in at the same time, we also give you a small network share so that you could put some files out there, some Revit files maybe, and do a central file and then work between 2 or 3 different VDIs at the same time to see how that works.
perfect. That was good. What else? You have any other questions
What
there?
other, why have architectural clients partnered with Advanced 2000 and not other cloud providers like Azure or Amazon?
That's a great question. And whoever asked it, I appreciate that one. And that is really quite simple. When first, I'm going to answer this in three different ways. First one is that we are also, most architectural firms, even the largest of them, are still considered medium-sized businesses. They're, we're not talking Fortune 40 companies as any sort of norm. There might be 1 or 2 out there that I'm not thinking of, but we are also a small business. So what that means is that you're partnering like to like. No one likes to call, and I always use the term Verizon because we have Verizon in this area. No one wants to call Verizon with a problem. And so that is the same concept. You want somebody when you call for support that knows who you are. Even if they don't know you, when you say what company you're with, they know what who you are now. And then when you're working through, if there is an issue that needs to be worked through, you're not calling back in and having to restart again, which everyone's experienced that with some large company. It's like, what's your problem? Who are you? What do you have? That's not what takes place with us. The second one is, and I use this as a really generic, we know what a network license manager is. We know what Revit is. We know what AutoCAD is, what SketchUp is, what Navisworks is. We understand these products, and not only do we understand what they do, our R&D is specifically designed for that. We do research and development specifically around the products that you use, and then we bring support specifically to your type of firm, and that's why firms come to us.
What about cost, Paul?
Oh, that is, and that I touched on very briefly. I didn't go in depth on that. The ROI is, well, let me answer that straight up. It's not going to be a lot more, and it's not going to be a lot less than you're paying right now.
I actually meant compared to Azure.
Oh, to Azure? Oh, God, that's.
I mean, what's the difference pricing wise with Azure?
That's what I think I mentioned it, maybe not, but your price with us is fixed. So I have clients that have left Azure to come to us. And the reason for that is that Azure is not, or any of those major ones, they charge per for data in and out. We don't charge for data in and out. When we deliver a cost to you, a price to you, it's a fixed cost. Your desktop, you can work on that for 8 hours. You can work on that for 24 hours. Regardless of how much you use it, your price is fixed because you pay for that desktop for the whole month. And that's the way it works. So everyone I've ever talked to, and I'm sure maybe there's somewhere, someplace, someone, but our price is way below Azure. And as a matter of fact, any client that's came to me from them, that has been the story, and they're always happy to talk to somebody that's considering us over Azure and tell their story. What else, JT? Any more?
Is my data safe in the cloud?
Great question. So there's two things I want to make sure depending on the client. Some clients are very, very large, and they've already standardized on certain antiviruses and network protections and things like that. We're happy for a firm like that to accommodate themselves and use the technologies that they feel comfortable with to manage that and protect that. If you come to us, what we do is we standardize on what we believe, and really more often than not, it's very easy to show, is best of breed. So the best product in that category to help support you from a ransomware, an antivirus, and so forth. The other piece to that, so from a network protection perspective, we use best of breed and best. I'm going blank on the
best of category.
Best practices, and best in category. JT likes best of category. I like best of breeds. I like animals. So the other piece of that is that what I call out of our box, because we can accommodate many. We do a rolling 30 days for your backups. Now, I have clients that, because of contractually, they need to not only have that rolling 30 days, but they keep a monthly and then a yearly for 10 years to accommodate their contractual agreements. So we can accommodate that in any way, but for some reason somebody opened something and really something wonky they shouldn't, and something happened and it got into your network, we can always roll you back at a worst case scenario to the day before, and not be and get you back and running. JT, I missed something?
Just the data center.
Oh, go ahead. You talk about the data. Well, I'll talk about that. I'm going anyways. So we have multiple data centers. We actually own 2 and co-locate in 2. All of those are connected with fiber. And so we're really, the data center and the network within the data center at every level has resiliency and redundancy. There is no one point of failure throughout any of it. So everything from the top of the rack, UPSs and power supplies coming to a rack from 2 separate sources, power supplies from 2 separate ends of the building, backup generators, backup air conditioning, everything that possibly can be backed up and resilient and redundant is. And so we're very proud. I do lots and lots of tours. Nowadays are virtual tours. So we can't go to have a couple drinks afterward, but unless we do that virtually. But that is, again, our CEO is an electrical and mechanical engineer, and this is his pride and joy. And he is determined to keep our clients safe and running at all costs.
So I would add to that, Paul. Basically, disaster recovery is built into the solution.
Yeah,
So if your office loses power, you send people home and everybody works from home. If
everybody's
you're,
home already.
well, we are now,
I'm
yeah,
joking.
exactly.
I'm just a joke.
But right, but it's built in disaster recovery. If there's, as long as you have a data connection, you can work.
Any more questions? Is that all you have?
I think that's it.
Cool. Well, I thank everyone for attending. If you have any questions, there's my contact information right here. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss any components of this, set up a demo with you, talk about the solution further so you can understand further, and get some ideas of how we see businesses and specifically architectural businesses moving forward in this new norm. So everyone, I hope you stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep. Bye bye.